Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today I'm going to dive into this whole Major League Fishing discussion regarding the BPT field being cut from 80 anglers to 50 anglers after the 2024 season. As a new angler on the BPT trail, I felt like I should be able to voice my opinion on this and at least give my 2 cents. Now, I will say, I understand the idea behind cutting to a smaller field. Heck, I am one that said we should only have one league. I feel like the industry is big enough for one major league, and that's it. In this case, you could say we've got three major top level leagues, and that's a lot of people out there who are trying to make a living with a relatively small amount of sponsor dollars. So I understand the idea of having a smaller league. What really concerns me here is cutting from 80 to 50 in the manner that it's being done. So I'm going to give you my 10 reasons why I don't agree with this cut to 50 and the reasons for that. I know a lot of people out there look at anglers and say, well, they're just fishermen, right? They're uneducated, they're rednecks, they're just out there chasing bass. Well, I'd like to tell you that the majority of anglers that make it to the professional level are very well educated anglers. They're very business savvy individuals. I myself, I've got an MBA. I worked in the financial corporate world for 13 years. I've been a witness for the federal government on the stand in trial cases. Like, I've done a lot. I've had an entire team of people working under me when I was working in the financial industry. I've got multiple businesses right now. So I do feel like I understand business a little bit. Now, I can't say I've ever run a tournament organization, but I would like to think that the organizations value the angler's opinion enough to take them into account when making decisions like this. Now, I know I, as a rookie coming in, probably was not privy to any of this, but from what I understand, there really was very little angler consideration on this, which is a major concern of mine. And that kind of goes into the top 50 or the top 10 reasons why I think this is a bad idea. So I'm just going to dive right into it. First and foremost, cutting to 50 anglers does not actually mean that the anglers themselves are going to have this big, bright future and sponsor dollars are going to be thrown at them. I have heard many individuals state that a smaller field means more money for those anglers. That's not true. A lot of the anglers that will qualify for this will in fact maintain their primary source of income as a tournament individual, meaning if they don't change what they're doing, the sponsor dollars probably won't get any better. One of the main reasons we're doing this is we're seeing that the impact of a tournament angler is decreasing when you compare them to other marketing platforms. So the idea of just creating this exclusive league, and because they're inside of that, does not necessarily mean those anglers are going to make any more money. It really is up to the angler in today's day and age to generate more marketing dollars and to make them their own personal brand more valuable, which will drive those additional sponsor dollars. So the idea of just creating a league that's 30 anglers short, that this exclusive league that these anglers now all of a sudden will make a bunch more money, in my opinion, is 100% not accurate, especially when everyone knows in today's day and age the value of anglers is dropping. It's only going to continue to drop as we move forward unless the angler themselves creates the brand. It is not Major League Fishing's responsibility or any tournament organization's responsibility to make a brand out of an angler. In fact, there are some anglers out there that choose not to partake in marketing events because all they want to do is fish. That's their choice. But the idea that these 50 anglers all of a sudden will be these exclusive individuals that everyone wants to throw money at is complete bogus, in my opinion. I do not agree at all with that. The second issue with this is those 50 anglers that you get are not necessarily the best anglers for the platform. Major League Fishing has told us that they want to advance and make their strides into the digital platform because TV, they're losing viewers. TV is growing slower. You guys at home, myself, we're YouTubers. The TV I watch is YouTube videos. My favorite shows are YouTubers. Like that's what I do. And because of that, the value of putting your product on actual television and cable is decreasing. So they want to move into the digital platform, more social media. I totally understand that. But again, you need to have the right anglers for that. And with the selection criteria we've got right now, it doesn't necessarily mean these 50 anglers are the right anglers for your platform. You will be cutting a lot of anglers that are right for that platform. You would be able to grow your digital platform better by keeping an angler that's got a great social media following who is not in that top 50. If they're at 60th and they get cut, they're taking that brand and going away from you. You're going to lose the ability to use that angler and their brand to grow your own. So I really have issue with the idea of shrinking the number of people you have and growing your digital marketing platform. I think there is a big difference there that's not necessarily being considered. The third kind of goes along with that. It's strictly your loss of talent, or as Major League Fishing has liked to refer to us in the past, our brands. You're going to be cutting a pile of brands that have value. Now, I don't know how you take that amount you're cutting and actually come up with a legit value of what those 30 anglers are going to be. Technically 35 anglers, because the value of the 5 anglers you're cutting is probably higher than the 5 anglers you're going to be bringing up from the invitational circuit, but that's to be determined, right? I could be wrong in that. You could get some guys that have great value coming up and you win on that trade. The point here is you're cutting a lot of value in those brands. And if you cut those brands, our fourth reason is if you cut those brands, those anglers, you're potentially losing out on future sponsor dollars. What I mean by that is the anglers quite frequently bring their sponsors to the tournament organizations. I would be surprised if not every one of the BPT anglers at some point has been contacted by the organizations that they've fished with over the years and had the organization ask for contacts to the sponsors. It's happened to me a number of times, so I know there are a lot of deals that the organizations get because the anglers bring it to them. That's a lot of potential sponsor dollars that are lost. A lot of potential sponsor relationships as well. I can tell you, me personally, I'm meeting with a major company on Friday with one of my sponsors because the sponsor asked me to attend it so I could bring value to that conversation to determine if that would be a good pairing between the two companies. So my opinion is being asked for by my sponsor about whether they should work with this other company. You're going to be losing that ability from a lot of anglers that you're cutting. And this happens frequently. You got to keep in mind a lot of the sponsor relationships that the anglers have are very strong relationships. And if you cut those anglers, you're potentially cutting sponsor dollars either that you have now or potentially in the future as well. And the same, number 5, goes for if you cut those brands, you're cutting a lot of potential fans. Now, I don't know exactly how many impressions Major League Fishing is getting, but let's say you cut those 30 anglers. Let's say that each of those anglers have just 100 people that are watching the live stream every day because they want to watch myself or one of the anglers fish. I think it's very realistic to think that each one of those anglers that get cut have at least 100 family and friends that are watching. I know I could rack up a good pile of people that are watching because they just want to see how I'm doing. Well, 30 people, 100 or 30 individuals getting cut, 100 family and friends for each of that. That's 3,000 potential views per day that angler fishes. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that might not be that many, right? That really might not be that many. But over the course of a year, it starts adding up, and that's assuming it's just 100 people. I'd be willing to bet most of these guys have a lot more just family and friends that are watching on a daily basis. So you're automatically going to be reducing your live stream views that you need to now pick back up on the back end with a smaller field. The sixth thing has to do with it being what I thought was an angler-driven league. My impression, and again, I haven't been part of the BPT since it was created. I really haven't been involved as is at this point. I've partaken in a couple of phone calls, and that's about it. But my impression was that it was very much an angler-driven league. And at this point, the decision to cut from 80 to 50 is very much not the anglers' decision. Like the majority of the anglers would very much vote against this. And from that standpoint, it's weakening the relationship between the anglers and the organization. That can have potential issues down the road anytime other decisions want to be made. It's definitely not a good thing. Whether you want to consider the anglers an employee of the organization or you want to consider them a customer of the organization, the last thing you want to do is piss off either of them. There should be direct communication between the anglers and the organization as to what's the best way to work this out. At least that's what my impression would be if it's an angler driven organization. And right now, I'm questioning that. And I think there's a lot of other anglers that are very concerned by that because at this point, it's not necessarily just this decision. What happens in 2025 when they say 50 is too many? Let's cut it to 10. Like, I mean, that could happen. I would have said that never couldn't have happened. But now I really feel like that could potentially happen, or other drastic moves that can end an angler's career like that. Like that's how drastic this is from an angler's career standpoint. There are a lot of guys that have made great careers in the sport that are going to be asked to pretty much start all over again. And that to me is not right, especially when you're supposed to be fishing an angler driven league. So from a relationship standpoint, all this is creating is a lot of very concerned individuals walking away from this going, I don't know that I have that trust factor. And the last thing you want between an employee and your, and your boss, or a customer and a retail store or whatever, is no trust. If you don't think the product is good or you think you're being screwed, that's not going to be a good thing. The seventh reason, we are pissing fans off. And the last thing we want to be doing is pushing away fans. But I feel like the overall consensus right now is that the fans are just fed up with this. They feel bad for the anglers. They're starting just not to care. There's a lot of issues with that. The fans are the lifeblood of the organization. We should be doing whatever we can to get them to be watching us versus making these changes that are making them go, I don't want to support this. That's a major, major problem. The only reason I'm here right now is because of you guys watching this video right now. And I can't feel more fortunate than that. If you were to come back and give me all kinds of comments, I take that into account. I make changes to my business models based on what the fans ask for. In this case, I think we need to be really recognizing the fact that the decisions being made at the organization level is not only impacting the anglers, but it's impacting the fans who are the lifeblood to us as anglers and organizations. That's something we need to really take into account. Number eight, we're cutting 30 people out of the league in 2025. Those 30 people are not just anglers. They're also paying $40,000 in entry fees. And that's based on 2024. My understanding is in 2025, the entry fee is going up to $45,000. $40,000 for 2024 entries, if we use that number, times 30 anglers is $1.2 million in revenue. Now, I recognize the idea would be a lot of that revenue would get paid back out. But does it have to? Could MLF take some of that? I mean, it's pretty much the given at this point that all the tournament organizations out there, if you look at them, especially from a AAA level down, are used as revenue generators. There is potentially a good source of income there by having those 30 anglers still fish. By cutting them out, there's $1.2 million that's now off the bottom of the books that you can't use even if you wanted to use for something, whatever it is, whether it's just you take 20% of that and that helps pay your everyday expenses as a business. That's gone now. So $1.2 million by removing 30 anglers is a big number in my opinion. The ninth reason has to do with helping to grow the sport, as everyone likes to say. And this simply comes down to you have a smaller field, you take less people up from your qualifying circuits, and therefore you're decreasing the amount of potential new talent that you're bringing into the league every year. Now, I realize as an angler, who is on the BPT tour, including myself, who wants to have a long career, that's great. That helps me solidify my position there because there's less people coming in. But realistically, we should want to continue to bring new people up into the circuit, new blood, the next Kevin Van Dam, the next great talent, the next people that have giant platforms on social media that can fish. Like, these are the people that you want to be bringing up into your league right now. But the harder we make it, the smaller the field gets, the less talent that we could potentially be bringing up. And I know some of you are going to say, well, that contradicts what you're making the point here, because you're saying you shouldn't cut from 80 to 50 and get rid of 30. And now I'm saying we should bring more new people in. Well, I am saying we should bring more people in, but I'm saying we should do it with an 80-person field and do it like how I qualified this year, being in the top 8. That's a 10% rollover amount. If we cut it to 50 and they bring 5 guys in, it's still 10%, but it's 3 less spots. And that to me is a big difference. Now, the last reason, number 10, and it goes just hand in hand with bringing this new talent in, is the harder you make it to get to the top level, the less demand you create for the levels below that. And I'm going to use myself as an example. One of the main reasons I continued to choose to fish the Major League Invitationals is because they were taking 8 people out of 150 potential spots, meaning the Invitationals were capped at 150, 8 guys got pulled up. Well, the Bassmaster Opens was 9 people getting pulled up to the elites, but it's out of 225 spots. So the percentage, simple math, says it was easier to qualify for the BPT out of the invitationals because they took almost the same number of spots, but there were 75 guys less fishing for it. So as an example, myself, I was choosing to fish the invitationals because it was a better route for me to get there. Well, now, if you're only taking 5 out of 150, it's not as good. It's harder. So you're actually hurting your lower levels, which are part of the blood life, the supply line of not just new talent, but dollars coming up to the top level for the organization as a whole. So I really, really feel like this decision to cut from 80 to 50 is going to have a lot of drastic impacts on not just the organization, but on the anglers and the entire industry as a whole. And I'm not a fan of it. I really don't think it's a good thing. I know that there are a few positives by doing it, but as a whole, I think it's a bad thing for the sport. So this was just my opinion. I would love to know from you guys out there who have given me so much support on YouTube over the years. Guys, let me know in the comment section. Do you think we should keep it at 80, or do you think we should cut it to 50 going into the 2025 season? Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, new video coming out tomorrow.